Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I've been on hiatus, but for a very good reason. I'll tell you in just a moment. Welcome back to the Fearless and Fabulous podcast, a space where women learn to thrive no matter their age or size. I am your host and creator, Melanie Robinson, and the reason why I've been on hiatus is because of this happened. I am the reigning Ms. Voluptuous International, which is surreal to say still. This happened this past August. And so it's now October. So I'm early on in my reign. And with me today is one of my sister queens. And she was one of my guests from last season, Michayla Crosland from Canada. And she is a delight. And I'm so excited to have you all listen to her today because she is the epitome of a fearless and fabulous woman. Welcome, Michayla.
Thank you so much for having me again. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you back, girl. So she and I really got to see each other in person at the Miss Welch's pageant, and we had so much fun together. And I want you to introduce yourself to the
Yeah,
viewers so they can get a sense of who you are.
amazing. Well, hello everyone. My name is Michayla Del Guidice, and as Melanie was saying, I competed at
Did
Miss
I just
Voluptuous.
call you by the wrong name?
You did, but I didn't want to correct you.
So I was saying before we started recording that I'm a little rusty. And I called her by the other Michaela that was in our pageant. So I apologize. Michayla De Guidice is with us, which you see the opening credit cards. So but that's
Yeah,
okay. Let's go
this will
ahead
be a
and let you
blooper.
introduce yourself again. My apologies, girl.
It's all right. So my name is Michayla Del Guidice, and I competed with Melanie at Miss Voluptuous International back in August, and now I'm here with a brand new title. I am the current Ms. Brantford Regional Canada, so I am going for the title of Ms. Regional Canada, which I'm
Yes.
so incredibly excited. This pageant is for women 25 and up in pageantry, and it is just an absolute dream come true because we got our Ms. Queens, we got our Mrs. Queens, but we also have our Ms. Elite Queens and Mrs. Elite Queens, which are our gals who are 40 plus, which I'm like so incredibly excited. And I'm actually have rebranded my platform, which I'm so excited to also share about that today. So it used to be Real Queens United when you saw me last season. It is now called Real Queens United. So I'm really excited to share about that too.
So I don't mean to correct you, but you just said it was Real Queens United and it became Real Queens United.
Oh my goodness. I'm a little rusty too.
I know. It's all good. We're getting back in the saddle.
Sorry.
So, well, I think it was used to called Real Resiliency, right?
Yes, it used to be the Real Resiliency Project, and it was all about changing the way that we view labels in society. And what I was finding is going leading up to the pageant, I started feeling like I didn't love it anymore. Like
Hmm.
if any other pageant queens are watching, I feel like this happens to all of us where we're kind of like our platform no longer aligns with who we are and our passion and our mission. I
Yeah.
was finding that with the Real Resiliency Project. So I actually went on a retreat where I was like, hey, I really need to like deep down figure out what is it that I'm actually passionate about. And it was actually the experiences that I had at Miss Voluptuous and just feeling the authentic sisterhood that was going on literally changed my platform to Real Queens United. And now it's all about female empowerment and really owning in what it means to be authentically female. Meaning,
Mm.
like, and what my definition, it might be different from everybody else's, but authentic female to me is more of like being solid in who I am as a woman and being proud to use my voice and to be in this powerful space, just being with my sister queens. So this new rebrand was all inspired by Miss Voluptuous International. I did steal the idea, literally like during the week rebrand.
Isn't
Um,
it amazing how I think there's something about when you're in pageants and you have a platform, there's almost a feeling like, oh, if I change my platform, people aren't going to take me seriously, or people are going to be wondering what's going on with this. And I had the same thing happen to Michayla. I had for the pageant last year, and the year before with another pageant. It was called Beautifully Bold, but it was a similar thing to Fearless and Fabulous, but it wasn't quite what I really wanted to do. So when I decided to be fearless and it's like, hey, I'm just going to change the branding here. I'm going to really make it clear in what I'm doing. I kind of had this feeling of, okay, take a deep breath and go. And clearly it worked out. People responded to it easier. Do you find that you're getting a better response with your new rebranding?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I found when if you go on my social media, you'll see what I'm talking about in terms of the love was gone because it was like there was not a whole lot of information being out there. Like the reels just didn't make sense. Like I was really trying to do something and I just felt like it was almost a chore every single time I was
Mm.
posting. And well, now I post for fun, like honestly, and like my page is now turned into literally an amplified community. My goal with this platform is literally to celebrate women and their successes. So if you are a woman and you're watching this, please tag me in anything that you're celebrating because I want to share it and I want it to be a space where women are like it's like a celebration hub of women. And I found that, before under the Real Resiliency Project, I was only getting like maybe 200 views on my reels. Like super like low for an account that has been in like activity since 2019. Very low.
Mm.
I have a video that literally just reached 3,000 views and I have gained this is crazy. I have gained 250 followers in the last month since the
Stop it. That's
rebranded.
awesome.
I rebranded September 1st. So it's like, and it's a month later, and my following has already grown so much, and it feels so much more aligned with who I am and what I want to do with the title of Ms. Regional Canada.
That's amazing. I'm so happy for you. And I see a difference in you too.
Mhm.
Like it was so interesting to me, Michayla, because I could tell the difference from
Mhm.
when you and I first recorded to a difference in growth to when I saw you at the pageant. And now I even see like even a bigger glow up. It's about the energy. It's about the connection. It's about really holding about who you are. How have you felt different over this past year?
I have felt that I don't have to care about what other people's opinions are anymore. And honestly, that was something really hard for me because I am a glorified people pleaser. I will do anything for people to just be like, Michayla, you're amazing. I would do anything. But what I started noticing was is once I turned off what other people were saying and turned off of their opinions, I started to like live as if I'm already the title holder. I'm like the woman that I want to be. Like it was so crazy to me because I believe in energy, right?
Hmm.
And since having this rebrand, I just interviewed yesterday for a new job, which is a coordinator position. So it's a higher position than the one I'm currently at an Ontario college. And
Yeah.
I believe that that happened because I started saying no to people. I started being like, you know what? I don't have the time for this. I also don't have time for your negative energy. And I started being me. And and there was people who like I was sticking on to friendships because I felt like I had to. Like I
Mm.
had to, they were people who were really important in my life, and they're still very important, but I don't have to get down to their same negative bubble. And that is when I started to live like I've never felt more authentically Michayla in this past month than I have in a very long time.
I love that for you. Isn't it amazing when you start setting boundaries, how people seem to respect you even more?
Absolutely.
And you
Like
are attracting more, I don't know, higher energy, higher, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, more focused type people. They're not. I mean, everyone goes through tough times for sure, but they're not the people who are like living in the negativity. They're not going to come for you if you're not there for it. So good for you.
Yeah, I've honestly felt so good. Like, and it's, at first it was very uncomfortable saying, kind of
Mhm.
distancing myself from those friendships, especially some of the women in my inner circle. I was finding that I was resulting into negative energy like they were. And it was almost like a block for me. So I found once I was able to be like, you know what, you can have your opinion, you can have your life, but I'm going to live a certain way. I found when I distanced myself, I have felt more like me. I felt more calm, less anxious, and I'm very proud of that. Like I'm very open about this, but I've been on anxiety medication for over 10 years. And I'm now completely cut cold turkey off of it. And I have felt so much better than I was before because I'm actually starting to live the life that now I've wanted.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I have to like sit in a moment with that because I am someone I deal with a type of an anxiety disorder as well. And I'm going to do a video about what I believe is going on with me. So I will table that for the time being. But that's my goal as well, to not feel like I have to be on this medication in order to live. And by all means, I am not telling anybody just stop taking your medication. You have to make sure that it's the right thing for you. But I think what is really important is that you realized what you needed to do in order to move forward as a person.
And I realized my own self-worth. Like I
Yeah.
realized like all this time I've kind of been comfortable living under everybody else's shadows, even though on social media I was kind of coming out. It was like, this powerhouse like coming on and, doing all of these things, but it wasn't who Michayla was. It wasn't under my comfortability. It was getting in the way of me living my life and it was getting in the way of me starting to grow. And since, kind of rediscovering my purpose, rediscovering who I am, I've really felt this massive shift.
Hmm. So, what do you do now when you are dealing with a, a negative situation? I know recently you've been battling illness. So, how are you dealing when you're not feeling so great, mentally? How are you taking care of yourself?
I actually, Miss Voluptuous, when we had our lip sync battle, I remember going into that competition and I remember being like, I'm not going to lip sync. I'm not going to make a fool of myself on stage. I have lip sync every morning since since that pageant. And honestly, that's something that I've felt is like a form of self-care for me because I like can let loose. I can turn on something that resonates with me over that period of time. So that's something that I do, but I also do get in my head still. So I'm gonna be very transparent. Like there was a situation that happened within the last week and it's been really bothering me. But what I started noticing and I started kind of taking a step back and be like, you know what? It's okay. Like, it's fine. Things are going to be okay. But like lip syncing every morning and posting it on social media gets me outside of like my bubble, I feel like.
I love seeing your lip syncs. It's such, a ray of sunshine. And it's not, it's not a, hey, I'm doing this cute lip sync sort of a thing. It's like you're just really just enjoying yourself. And I absolutely love seeing that. And I mean, you're inspiring me. Like if I can ever get out of having to unpack my house, I would like to do the same thing. But I think it's a great example to others that you don't have to worry so much about how am I going to look if I try something. And I think that's truly fearless and fabulous, darling, what you're doing.
I remember the first time I posted one of my lip syncs, I went to my coach and I was like, this feels so uncomfortable. I was like, I don't like it. And she goes, that was the best thing I think I've ever seen on your page. And after that, I'm like, okay, I don't even care. Like, even this morning, it was so funny because I completely forgot the song Swore. And I just posted it, but my face was like, eh. Like, it was just, it was that, carefree. I'm like, you know what? It's fine. I'm gonna post it anyways, but it sets my day up. Like I
Mhm.
I have a very stressful job where I'm working with at-risk students. a lot of the times I'm hearing stories that are very heartbreaking. So doing this lip sync in the morning, it sets my mood up so that way I can be a better advisor for my students. And I just find it's so liberating and like
Yeah.
I just love it. I love the energy.
And I think that's a big takeaway for anybody watching or listening is you have to fill your cup up first. You
Mhm.
have to, especially if you are in a stressful type of job or if you've got a lot of stressors happening at home. For me personally, I have to keep reminding myself to do that. I know that ever since I moved here to Virginia, I mean, my life has been turned upside down. And it's good things, but it's also there's stressors with it. A new home, a new area, a new job, a new title. It's a lot of different pieces happening at once. And I found that when I wasn't taking care of myself, when I was just so task focused, I did not feel like me at all. Like I felt like I don't know. I felt like somebody who's just focused on the stuff versus really living.
Right? I felt that even with going into Miss Voluptuous, like I'm coming from a past pageant career where I'm going into high competitions, like where it's like you don't really talk to the girls that like you're competing against. You're very like narrow focus. And so I went into Miss Voluptuous kind of doing the same thing because that's what I'm used to. But
Hmm.
honestly, like getting up on that stage and lip syncing, I did not, if anyone's seen the videos, like I don't know what happened. It was almost like a new me was unleashed. And the whole week, I didn't care about the competition. It was like just there to have fun. And I think that that's what sets it apart. Like the last couple of years, not winning a title really got to me. But then leaving Miss Voluptuous, I placed top three, which is the highest I've ever placed in the pageant. And I didn't leave disappointed. I left excited and like recharged. And I even said, like, I would go back. If my life allowed me to go internationally again, I would go back. But, life is lifing. And I've come to
Hmm.
the reality of like, there's certain things in my life that I want to start, doing. I'm 27 years old. Like, I want to start, building my life. We just moved and bought a house. So, building our life here in the community, getting higher in my job, starting a family. So there's things that wouldn't be able to go with an international title, but with a national title would be able to do so. But the plan would be ideally go back to Miss Voluptuous because that was probably by far the most incredible experience I've ever had in pageant.
Oh, and I had an amazing time too. And it was so open and not a feeling of I'm against these women. That was my own experience, and I know that's what you were feeling too. And I think overall there was that feeling as well. It really was a very supportive environment. And when I competed in 2023, I had a similar experience, and that's why I wanted to come back. Not just for, the competition, but also I wanted to feel that again. I mean, it's like a drug. Like I want to be around these amazing women. I want to, feel the best that I can feel and to, challenge myself to do something better than I've done before. So I'm hoping that at some point you will come back because I know you would be fantastic. But I wanted to backtrack a little bit. So you mentioned, prior to Miss Voluptuous, you hadn't placed in a pageant before. What kept you going?
Yeah, so I started pageantry in 2019. So right before it literally June 2019 I competed. March 2020 Canada was in lockdown for COVID. So I didn't place in my first competition and it was almost like that sisterly feel. 2020 I did compete and I won my national title, but I won it online. So to be fair, I did win a national title. But I did never got that crowning moment and I
Mm,
never got the handover moment. And that's something that I'm like hungry for. I
yeah.
want that crowning moment. And I've always said that whatever system crowns me, I'm going to be in it for life. And that's one thing I kept with the same system because I thought that it aligned with who I was. And finally, after I competed 3 years in a row internationally after I won my national title. I kept going back thinking that it was the system for me, realizing that it wasn't aligned with who Michayla was. It was,
Mm.
that high energy, like very high competitiveness. And I loved the system. Don't get me wrong. I even became a director for the system because I loved it so much. But what I found was it wasn't aligning very well. Like I wanted something that was strictly on empowerment and making me feel like a better person. And my coach literally, it was so funny. I got off the stage from my last pageant internationally, and I remember like bawling. I was so upset because it
Mm.
was 3 times in a row that I never placed top 20. Like I was like, what am I doing wrong? Um, and I went on the phone with my coach and I was bawling and I said, I need a system that I'm going to feel recharged because I'm burning out. So I
Yeah.
experienced burnout. Like it was literally in the middle of competition to post competition. I experienced intense burnout where I did not feel like myself. I was highly anxious, highly depressed. And she told me, like, while I was going through my depression bubble, to sign up for Miss Voluptuous because it was more of an empowerment program. And as soon as I got into that group chat, I immediately felt at home. And
Mm.
that's the pageant system that I'm currently in has that same feel. So there's not that
Awesome.
international obligation, but it's that empowerment piece. You have women entering into this pageant who are 25 plus, right? Who are, they've lived. We're at a point in our lives where, we're living, we're in our careers, we have families, and it's all about empowering each other through sisterhood. And I think that that's the pageant that I've always been inclined to. And I think that's something that I suck out for so many years, but couldn't find it.
Yeah.
So it's actually like a breath of fresh air to compete in systems. And I don't have to feel the need to be perfect. Like,
Mm.
and that's where the lip sync came in, right? Because like
Yeah.
Michayla has always been put together while she competes at a pageant, and then she gets up there and does a lip sync in front of everybody. It was like a liberating moment. And I even there's like I even at one time was like twerking on the stage, got off the stage right in front of the judges before I even know what the judges were. It was mortifying to find out they were judges afterwards. But it was that liberating moment where I was like, this is who Michayla is. Michayla's hilarious, but she's not showing it. So I think what kept me going was I was trying to find my place. And I think
Mhm.
I finally found the systems that I am aligned with now.
I love that. It's, for some reason, I felt a similar way, after I did my lip sync, because we weren't sure who the judging panel were going to be. And in my lip sync, I mean, I'm like slapping my ass and I'm, moving around and just owning it, serving it. But I knew I was safe doing those things. I knew I was because of the system. And I think that is a piece that a lot of women, they need to really take their time and look at the system they're thinking about competing in, see if they can reach out to other people who have been in it. What do they have to say? Maybe have a one-on-one with a director, just get a real feel for it. Because I think sometimes, unfortunately, some women are so hungry for a title, they don't really understand what they're getting themselves into. And that's something that I've experienced where I was literally the token plus size girl at a pageant, and I was clearly used for marketing. And when the finalists were called in my division, there were only four of us, three were called, and I was left standing on the stage.
Oh,
And in my opinion, number one, you never let that happen. No one should be the sole one left on the stage. But secondly, I wish I had taken the time to really get to know that system a bit more before I jumped in with both feet. But at the same time, I learned from it and what I wanted to find. So I'm really glad that you were able to find Miss Voluptuous and then also then find your new system too.
and you know what made me, it was funny because I had my appointed title for Miss Voluptuous, and um I went to this pageant. So I went to Ms. Regional Canada. Sorry, my boyfriend's listening to a video, which I told him to be quiet. Um, so I went to Ms. Regional Canada as an appearance just to support my coach because my coach was competing in the system. And so I went, and I got a chance to volunteer and was backstage, got to see the workshops that they were doing, got to see like the runway, got to see the authentic empowerment of women. And I immediately knew I was like, if I don't win Miss Voluptuous, this is the pageant that I'm coming into. And it was literally like, I got home and I spent some time thinking about it because I kept saying it, Miss Voluptuous, oh, this is my last one. But I came home and I told my partner, I was like, I'm hungry. Like, I want that win so bad. I want an on stage crowning moment. And I said I was so close. And what really, after Miss Voluptuous, I was very hard on myself, I'm gonna admit,
Yeah.
because all week, like looking at my scores, everything was perfect. Like my runway was perfect. My top scoring was introduction, interview, and evening gown were my top scores, which make up the most of it. It was that dang final question. I think knowing the question in advance, I got in my head. So
Mm.
I went on stage and I rehearsed it and I didn't say immediately what I wanted to say. It really got in my head and I was like, I was really hard on myself thinking like if I didn't practice that question on repeat, I would have done much better. And I was really hard on myself because I'm like, that just costed me a title. Like I look at my scores, I'm like, that was it. That was the defining moment. So I went home very like I was upset because it was me, like I knew I could have done better.
Mm.
But at the same time, like it was the first time that I was standing there in the top three, even though I didn't like my answer and I was hard on myself backstage, being with two of my best friends. Oh, I'm gonna cry. Being with two of my best friends from the pageant, like standing there and hugging them while we're in top three, was worth anything. Like I'm those two girls were the very you and those two girls were the very first queens to reach out to me and welcome me into the sisterhood. So being able to, even though I was in my head and I was beating myself up backstage about it, being just there with the two of them, hugging them, it was
Yeah.
like it was just a magical moment. And I've never felt that authentic sisterhood before. So it was that moment still, like even being called into top three, like I was bawling there, like I was
Aw.
sobbing. But having them two there, they were just any three of us would have been an
Yeah.
incredible presentation. And I realized after that, I was like, you know what? I've never placed and got top three. Like, and I came first in interview and introduction.
Yeah.
Like
That's fabulous.
it was the best I've ever done at a pageant. So I had to go home and be like, you did that. Like you did that. You were
Hmm.
a kid who grew up with disabilities, who were told you couldn't do these things, and you just did it. So it was a confusing moment, but at the same time, after it was over, it was just I still have butterflies about it. Like it's still so surreal.
So the thing is, in that experience, you achieved something you'd never done before. You got to achieve it with two sister queens who you love and respect, and you learned something from it so that when you go to your next pageant, you won't, maybe over rehearse if there's a final question, to maybe just stay more in the moment. And I think that's a wonderful lesson to learn. And like
And
I was very careful personally not to over rehearse what I wanted to say. I had like some main things floating in my brain, but I really wanted to, when I stepped on stage and I took the microphone, I just wanted my heart to talk. And to this day, I'm not sure what I said. I have to go back and watch the replay because I was so in the moment
yeah.
that I really couldn't tell you what all I said. But apparently it was good because, here we are. But I think maybe that's a takeaway, for anyone is to maybe, don't overthink things too much.
Yeah, don't take things so seriously. Like I'm somebody, so I am on the spectrum, and I found like in the past being backstage was very overstimulating for me.
Hmm.
So a lot of the times, if you've ever competed with me, you'll see me pacing back and forth, going through. And I think in that moment, I was so scared of stimming out that I was in my head rehearsing the same question over again. So I over prepared. And then when I didn't say it how I wanted it to say, it just came crashing down. So that it's a learning lesson. Like, don't take even life too seriously. Like,
Yeah.
it was definitely a learning moment for me because like I just had a job interview yesterday for a big position at work, and normally I would be going over the questions and like hyper fixating on every single thing. I literally went into that job interview and spoke my heart out. I was like, I
Yep.
don't care if I get emotional about supporting students. I'm going to cry if I need to, but that's just who I am. But I went in with authenticity. And I think going into my next pageant, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not going to hyper fixate on the areas of competition and nitpick every single thing that I do. Rather, just enjoy the moment and like relish in the opportunity.
That's amazing. I love it. I love you. You're just such a joy and so inspirational. We have just a few minutes left, but I want to make sure you get the opportunity to tell our viewers. Of course, I will tag everything, but where can they find you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm a big Instagram girly. I just rebranded. So my new Instagram handle is Real Queen Michayla altogether. And my name is very hard to spell out. So it's Michayla. There's a lot of forms of Michaela, so I've apologized on behalf of my mother for naming me that is so complicated. But and I also like it's gonna be launched tonight. I know that this episode will be after the launch, but I'm actually hosting a fundraising pageant. It is called Real Queens United Ambassador. And one of the areas of competition is a lip sync battle inspired by that moment. So if anybody wants to sign up, please do. It's all about confidence and being authentic in yourself and being comfortable in your skin. And the lip sync is an optional category, so it's not mandatory, but I highly recommend it just because of just the impact that I have felt doing the lip sync battles every morning that I want to carry that with Queens and share it and then also donate it. So like 90% of the proceeds will be going towards the Northern Ontario Families with Children with Cancer organization.
Oh.
So I'm really excited for like this official launch to happen. And it's going to be so much fun and so incredible.
Oh, I am so proud of you. I am excited for it. I will blow that up on my socials as well. I don't know if I'm allowed to enter it, but
You know what? I was thinking about it. I was like, if Mel doesn't enter, Mel is going to be one of my judges. So
well, hey, I would love to be a judge. I'm kind of locked into this current system. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I highly recommend everyone go follow Michayla, follow her mission, reach out to her, and thanks again, my queen, for joining us and sharing your story so authentically and so fearlessly and so fabulously as ever.
thank you so much. Love you.
I love you too. And thank you all again for joining us back for season 2. Please stay tuned. We've got so many more guests coming up this year. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe like all the kids on YouTube do. Till next time, bye now.
We dance, we dance, we dance.